Hello, everybody.
We're starting off
It's
good.
Tuesday night, and it's once again time for All Things Brunswick. The show tonight is kind of special to me. We have everybody here. We have Greta and Dan and Bill, and we even have TK in the building. So we are without guests, but I consider these guys guests. And thank you all so much for being here.
I guess we're guests now.
And thanks to TK for coming down.
I want my contract renewed if I'm a guest.
How much you paying me to be a guest? I'm just wondering.
And of course, they're going to give me a hard time. So, anyway, we are going to talk about all kinds of things this evening. Brunswick County, the nation, and whatever we wish. So, welcome everybody.
Well, hello.
And Dan, I've missed you.
You haven't seen me for 3 weeks?
I
4 weeks,
know.
something. It was before Christmas.
I know. I'm so glad you're back.
Yeah, a lot of stuff going on. A lot of changes in my
And
life.
Bill was gone last week. We
Well,
missed
Bill's-
you.
Even when he's here, he's kind of gone.
By the way, it was a 2-1 vote welcoming you back. So
Yeah, well, and I know who the one was.
I didn't say you won the vote.
Anyway, Happy New Year, guys, and welcome back.
Yes, it is. Happy New Year.
Yes.
It's been a year since
Yep.
I've seen you guys.
That's right.
I'm going to be good.
So, who wants to start with something that's
I think you
very
should start
I think
since
you should
got
start,
the
yeah.
okay? Something very newsworthy. This week in Southport, we lost our DMV office. No idea the circumstances, just the fact that we no longer have a DMV office, and you must go to Charlotte, the complex, or Wilmington from now on to get your vehicles registered or boats registered and whatever.
For those of us who are dumb, what do you mean by the complex?
No, I
Oh,
was gonna
the
say,
government complex in Bolivia.
Oh. Well, okay.
Government complex.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very complex at any government center.
Well, I'm gonna
It's
show-
that's my favorite DMV.
I'm going to show my libertarian side here and say, why do we need a DMV at all? Just get rid of them.
Well,
And we don't have to register our cars or like,
yeah, well, it's a thought, Dan, but
never going to
however,
happen, let's be honest. But
Yeah, so it is what it is, and that's where you must
I'm gonna
go,
be good.
folks.
There was an opening
We'll
there.
all
I
move
just
to Alaska. And
Yeah.
Maybe they'll put us on Life Below Zero or something. Right?
that would be cool. wouldn't it? Yeah.
I want to go out and do one of those 40 below shows up
That's
there.
exactly what I'm talking about.
Well,
Well,
I
well,
hope you have
hey,
a
sit-
wonderful time.
We could do an All Things Brunswick up at
If you have to go to the
Blood
DMV, you better
caribou
plan on a
and-
survival gear because you're going to be there a
Yeah,
while.
forever.
Although, to
Mary,
be
you don't
fair,
want to go hunting caribou?
No,
Oh, come on.
no.
She's from
Trapping
Maine.
rabbits?
I had enough of the cold and the
She had
below
caribou as
zero
pets up
and
in Maine,
snow and everything else.
who, me?
Me
Hello,
into
me.
the mic? Boss says I'm not talking into
So-
the mic.
Greta, you
So
gotta aim
I
it
don't
the
know
way
what
you're
happened with the
talking.
DMV,
Aim it
so
the
they
way
just
you're
closed it.
talking.
Yes, and it was unexpected. On Friday, they went in and closed it and announced it that folks would have to go to the other ones. And the only other announcement was that it is under investigation. So apparently, I guess we'll know eventually, but
I'm sure we will. But
no news right now.
the good news is, like, things like registration stuff you can still do online. But like
True.
driver's tests, you're going to have to go
Right.
to those places.
But
that
it's
you mentioned.
interesting that it's under investigation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that begs a question, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the right question to ask would be.
Well, one of the other statements that I picked up on was something to do with the notary aspect of that particular office. And I know that each one of those offices has an individual notary available to the public. So, whatever that means, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
It's interesting
So-
they closed it, though. That there's something
Yep.
more than just a notary issue.
Yeah,
Well, that was
Because they could
made
function
mention.
90% of the time without the notary.
Right.
yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
something going on.
Well, that's
we
why I
don't
was
know.
trying to think. Every time I've been to the DMV, I don't ever remember having something notarized.
Oh, I have.
Well, you can if you're
Yeah.
bringing in a bill, buying
Yeah.
a car, or something like that line.
Well, they like to have a notary available so that people don't have to go and find a notary and come back. So most
yeah,
DMV offices have a notary available.
We'd be speculating on what the reasons were.
Yeah,
like,
and
that they did that.
we just
but
don't know.
Right.
We just don't know.
Yeah.
But it's good that people are aware of it because you don't want to have to drive down there. And
Well, I know a lot of folks that need to re-register their vehicles in January. So I thought maybe it was a good idea to let them know
Yeah.
that they cannot do it in Southport anymore.
although I was able to do mine online, so it was actually a breeze. I got to give the state of North Carolina credit compared to where I'm originally from, the state of New York. It's a breeze to register your car here compared to New York. So kudos to North Carolina.
Yes.
Speaking of the state of New York, you notice that they've announced a $1 billion mental health program there.
For Kathy Hochul,
She's,
it's not enough.
she announced today that they're spending $1 billion to fix everyone's mental health in the state.
I heard that.
That's about what she spent on her eyebrows last week too. So,
Ooh,
yeah, I don't like.
Ooh, man, it's tough.
Oh, I don't like her. No, don't get me started.
Oh, everybody, Dan's back.
Oh, I'm back, and I got a lot to say, but I'll
Yeah.
be good.
So what are they going for, like a Stepford Wives kind of thing in New York, or what's
Well,
the
I think
plan?
they're going with the idea that all the homeless, they're playing the homeless being vets who all have issues with mental illness, and therefore they got to find ways to help them and hopefully at least house them. That would be nice.
Now, if
Especially,
they're helping vets, I'm for it.
Yeah, but my
There's a
only
lot of homeless people who are not vets.
But there's a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
and there are a lot of homeless people that are now illegals.
there's also a lot of homeless people that choose to be homeless.
There are some. There are
I mean,
some.
everybody wants to make it a black and white issue. It is not.
No.
I've never been involved in it, but I know people who have tried to help them. One friend of mine from several years back, he would drive around in a van when it was going to be like below zero, and they would not get in a van. No, I'm not going. I am fine on my own. And they weren't mentally ill. There are many that are. But there's also a fair amount that aren't, and they choose that, and that's fine.
You know, it's not been that long since the mentally ill issue has come up with the homeless. Before, it was just they're homeless,
Right.
period, end of story. Now it's not so much they're addicted to alcohol or drugs, but they're also a veteran, and the other issue is mental illness. And that's just been a few years.
It's unfortunately it's become politicized. So they're trying, both sides have their viewpoints on it, but the reality is it's somewhere in the middle, right? And unfortunately that's what we see with issues like this, where instead of trying to work on different solutions, they zero in on one or two and
Right.
think that's going to, build more housing. Okay, that's fine. It's awesome. I'm all for it. But there's going to be those that you could build all the houses in the world aren't going to go in for whatever reason.
Right.
So putting that out there as this is the solution, which is what tends to happen, isn't the right approach. It needs to be a myriad of things.
Right.
And unfortunately, from whether it's homelessness or any one of a number of issues we could bring up, that seems to be what it is. Everybody zeroes in on the one, and usually you find there's money involved behind the scenes that they're going to make out of it.
So let this be a lesson to us, right? We have a growing homeless problem in our sister county in Wilmington that is starting to take over touristy downtown.
Yes.
3rd Street. And it's growing leaps and bounds.
Yes,
and
it is.
unless we're right now apparently in denial that this is even a problem, okay? And until the government on that side of the river decides they're finally going to make some kind of a move, right, to do something positive, it's just going to get worse. I mean, first it was the library,
Yep.
and now it's
Yes.
touristy Wilmington.
Right.
What's that going to do to all those
Well,
businesses?
like for Wilmington, their solution is we're going to build more affordable housing.
Right.
So their area down by the river, they're going to put in, I don't know the exact number, but I'll just say 20 just to pick a number. There are far more homeless than those 20. But
Yeah.
they presented that as this is the solution.
Yeah.
How many homeless are able to have an apartment or have a
There
place.
are some that can, some that can't. You're right.
Yeah.
It's a gray issue. It is
It
not
ve-
black and
it-
white. And unfortunately, what I see is they try and make it black and white.
Yeah.
Yes, build more housing. Okay, no issue with that. But how about we address the mental illness? How about we
Right.
take care of the vets?
But you know,
Well,
infrastructure
that's
is one
it.
of those things that always lags behind any problem, right? That's my point. If you get in front of a problem, homeless problem in our area, you're not going to be lagging like New York. I mean, New York.
Oh,
I'm
it's
sorry,
crazy.
we've just come back from L.A. not too long ago. It's bad. It's really
It
bad.
certainly is. Yeah.
Nobody's in front of it.
No, because they're all in denial.
Yep.
And I think the biggest issue for me in that respect are the vets, because
Oh,
there
mine
are
too,
some of them who have PTSD so bad that they don't care if they're homeless. You know, to me, they are the ones that need to be
Absolutely.
helped right away. So, what do
Absolutely.
you think, Bill?
I was to say, what does Bill think? He's been awful quiet, which is really
Yeah.
unusual
Is
for
there
you.
any good news?
Yeah, because I have some concerns about the broad stroke homeless and vets who are PTSD.
Okay.
There are a lot of vets who are not PTSD.
Agreed.
And you're painting with that one brush, which falls into the league that you got some of the left saying every vet should not be allowed to have a weapon because they all suffer
Agreed.
from PTSD.
Right.
Again, black and white instead of
Right.
a gray issue. Right.
So I have an issue with that, you know, and there are parts of Brunswick has a group down here that live in a little forest, for want of a better term.
Yes,
and they don't
they
want to
do.
leave. They're very content down there. They're very happy.
And some of them are vets.
yeah, and some of them are, and some of them aren't.
Are they bothering anybody?
No,
Nope.
Well, there you go.
and when people go down there and try to say we want to help you, we're good. Just leave us
Yep.
alone,
Fine, leave us alone.
Yep.
and they're fine
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah.
One of the guys who is a vet in that community, I speak with him on occasion. He was actually somebody that my husband targeted, knowing that he was a vet and knowing that he needed help. Tyr was famous for buying him clothes, make sure he was warm in the winter, and always bought him breakfast or lunch wherever we were and ran into him. So, but I have to tell you, I see him on occasion, and I know that whatever is happening with him is worse. And it just makes me want to cry.
It's a tough situation, and there is no one answer for it.
No.
And it's never going to completely go away. Which is, they put that pipe dream out there too, that we can solve it. You can make things better. I'll absolutely agree to that. But you talk about L.A. You mentioned that they're in denial. They're not in denial. I don't agree with that. I don't think they're in denial. They know. There's no way they can't know.
Yeah.
They don't care, right? It's not politically.
Well, look what they did in El Paso. The
Yeah,
president
like-
showed up, and
and
by some
amazingly,
coincidence,
yeah, they all
they
were-
said all the locals down here have been complaining about all these people. We're going to clean them up and
Yeah.
get them
Sure.
someplace.
Yeah.
So
So that's where politically it became a valuable thing to do. So we're going to address it, which they just shipped them off somewhere else.
and our president was not allowed to meet with anybody who might say a different view about
Right.
the border.
It was a time frame
Yeah.
issue.
So
They even locked out the Republican representative who represents 60% of the border. He wasn't allowed to speak to him either. He was told he couldn't come. He asked.
Yep.
He was told he was not allowed to be there.
and
Well,
it-
he didn't read the governor's note either, so governor handed him.
Yeah,
a
but
note.
God bless that governor.
that was-
The governor
that was a good
published
one.
it.
Yeah.
You know, Abbott does
He
not mess
published it,
around.
and he showed up in his wheelchair and greeted him and handed it to him. Okay, I love it.
Yeah. Well, I know. We have to address this issue. Stop being in denial. Stop compiling every single homeless person into the same category. And I don't know what the answer is, but it needs to be addressed.
that's where it needs to start, is address the different categories
Right.
and then look for solutions for that category.
Right.
And maybe it needs to be handled one category at a time. I don't think that's the best way to do it, but maybe it does. I don't know. But until you address that, they don't know the different categories, or if they do, they're not willing to speak about them.
Right. They don't.
They just lump it all together, and again, it doesn't create a solution.
No.
It just creates issues.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's assuming that you think they want a solution.
well, that I was trying to be polite about it, Bill.
I flunked polite.
But it's a cottage industry, isn't it? I mean, out in California, you got guys, oh, yeah, I can build apartments for these guys, and you get the bill. And one unit, one 300 square foot unit is like $1 million.
Yep.
Well, look at the little mini houses they're putting out there now, which are 150 feet in total.
Yeah.
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 Micro houses.
With
Well,
the
that's
micros.
that's
Yeah.
what Wilmington wants to put in is
Uh-huh.
I think tiny houses is what they called them. Same
Yes.
thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they're about 300 square feet.
Yep.
They're studio apartment type.
They
things.
are kind of neat.
We
They're
went-
awesome, but
they are.
They're ingenious.
they're
They
going to
really
build
are.
like
Yeah.
20 or even if they built 50 of them, that's a great thing, but it doesn't solve the problem by
No.
any.
Well, the other thing that was going on for a while, and they do have it in Carolina Beach, is the houses they've taken these connexes and turned them into homes,
Right.
Mhm.
and they invest $30,000 or $40,000, and suddenly you have a home.
Yeah.
Does it work? I've seen them. I was on the planning board when they were putting them in, and then we limited them to a very specific area.
Mhm.
But they're there,
Wow.
and some of them aren't bad. I mean, if you want to look at anything, it's almost like an old railroad home, the old railroad houses, the apartments. They just run
Yeah.
straight through.
Yeah.
But some of them are decent.
That brings to mind it's like the old railroad housing and then base housing. Everything had to be unified in a row.
Well, the Army didn't exactly build to luxury. So, or the
Well,
Navy.
neither.
So, I mean, it's not like they were worried about what I
not
thought
like they were the
about
Air
house.
Force.
Okay.
Exactly.
It's not like they were the Air
Whoa.
Force.
Well,
No.
you know,
Oh.
we had a lot of homes built in northern Maine near Loring Air Force Base that were Air Force built,
Yeah.
and
So they had running water.
obviously,
Yeah, they had plumbing. Yeah.
obviously,
There
I
wasn't
think-
outhouses
The
there,
Air
right?
Force gets plumbing.
Yeah.
I think they were a little nicer. I do.
Oh, a ton
You
nicer.
know, when the
Okay.
base left, they sold all these houses to individuals. So, you know,
You got to remember the oldest rule in the book. When you look at two different branches of government, the Army goes in, they put up a new base. The training centers go in, they do everything they need to get the troops ready. Whatever's left goes to the niceties. The Air Force comes in, builds all the niceties,
Yep.
and then they go back and they say,
Give me more money.
we're almost done, but we're short $10 million for the runway.
yeah.
Yeah. We need a plane.
Yeah, we can land. We got everything going, but the runway's not here, so we really need the $10 million to finish it.
I'll tell you what, the saddest thing I have
And all my Air Force friends, that was actually whispered to me by Dan.
It's true.
Go Air Force.
This-
No, the worst example of the worst example of this we ever saw was when they sent us to Pearl Harbor. Okay, we were at this place called the Joint Intelligence Center Pacific, and moved the whole family over there, and they put us in Navy housing, and it was single wall construction. They even painted over the dead geckos and stuff in the linen closet. They didn't even bother to clean the place out, right? Single wall construction with the bolts coming up through that connected the wall to the flooring, the frame. Okay, then you go over to Hickam Air Force Base, and it's like 2 stories, carpet, air conditioning. We had no carpet, no AC, no nothing.
And I understand. I'll give you another one. When we were in Cairo West,
Yeah.
and we came in. We were living in the desert at 130, 140 degrees during the day, drinking your water. You got two layers of tent to try to get some sleep. 60 degrees at night. You're in a sleeping bag. Then the Air Force rolls in. Okay.
Oh.
They open up their C-5As. They roll out their air conditioning buildings, and they turn the switch on.
And they have
Yep.
balloon building. They just
Yep.
blow their
Yep.
buildings up, and they're all air conditioned. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
I'm
nice.
just saying,
Life is
pointing
tough.
out
Well,
who's-
I'll
who's
tell
the
you what.
smarter ones then?
You know, the government wastes money,
Touche.
and it doesn't matter which branch
Duly
they
touche.
waste it on.
They find a way to waste it.
Absolutely, because when they closed Loring Air Force Base, they had just redone the commissary.
This
They
is never
had-
well thought out, Mary.
No, and they had just redone the hospital.
Because the politicians are the
I
ones
mean-
doing
Right.
it.
We don't do it. The politicians are the ones who choose
Exactly.
which
And
bases.
and you know what they did? They just bulldozed everything down. Housing, schools.
Yeah.
They left the hospital, turned that into DFAST. The commissary's gone. When I went out there, I just cried. I could not believe it.
This is in Maine?
And I'm thinking to myself, this is my tax dollars
Yes.
at work.
There's a whole system
Yeah,
of
but-
infrastructure there, and they just bulldoze.
Yep.
Now, what's funny is
Yep.
when they closed Plattsburgh in New York, that was the only employer. That base was the employer for the whole area.
Oh,
I
that
have-
was the same with us.
I have to
Dan.
give them credit. The locals there, they didn't demolish things. They started turning it into retail, and it's not great, but
That's what they did at
they
Fort
made
Ord.
it as positive as they possibly
Yeah.
could to try and help people because that was it. Now, other than the prisons, because that's the other job you can get up there, or could at the time. I got to give credit to the locals there because they at least tried to do something rather
The
than
only
see it
thing
bulldozed.
that was put on Loring Air Force Base, which was the second largest SAC base in our country,
Yeah.
because we were the closest to Russia,
Yeah.
was the DFAST, okay, which pays all
Defense
of our
Finance and
yeah.
Accounting Service.
And they repaired Humvees that they sent to wherever they were needed.
And now they
in
probably
the
donated
desert.
them to the Taliban. in Afghanistan.
No,
but that's
they-
another story.
Yeah, they
They
probably
still
gave them
work
the
on
power.
those. I don't know
You
why.
want to talk about a fun place, Fort Totten in Queens.
I remember Fort.
I was
Totten.
assigned there for a number of
No
years.
way.
And the problem with Fort Totten was the Army doesn't need it, doesn't want it,
Yeah.
and they have no real use for it. But when they took it over in the 18th century, the man who gave it to them put in the deed that it reverts back to the family if they don't use it.
Yep.
Wow.
Now, think about this. This is sitting underneath the Tappan Zee Bridge, and conservatively, 10 years ago, it was estimated at a little over a $2 billion value for the land. And think about going back and trying to find the owners after 3 centuries.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure they'd manage.
Oh, I'm sure there'd be a lot of owners stepping
Oh,
down. I'm
there-
related.
yeah, a lot-
I'm
more than
related.
a few
I would be,
stepping up,
I would
yeah.
be one of
So
them.
right, they're keeping some reserve units there. The New York City trains their dogs there because they really have nothing. And then there's a Coast Guard has a little cutter there,
Yeah.
and that's using that entire base. But I spent most of my career at that, in the reserve career at that
Fort
fest.
Totten.
Yeah.
I remember it well.
Loring Air Force Base was founded in 1953. They closed it in 1994. It was the largest employer in northern Maine. When they left, it devastated that
Yes.
entire area.
That's normal.
But you know what happened and
and-
why it happened? They had to take the Air Force blades because they were putting in windmills. So they needed to get them. Those
No,
planes lost their
Bill.
windmills.
Mary, tell me you didn't see that coming from a mile
Oh,
away.
every chance he gets,
Right?
trust me.
Tell me you didn't see that
You
one?
know, I can be home in the middle of the day. All of a sudden, I get a text from Bill on windmills. Something he's come across, and he has to share it with
He
me.
gets that look, and I know it's like a zinger.
It's coming.
Down
It's com-
range. He's going to put one down range.
You
Yep.
look. They were responsible for the windmills in Maine for wiping out Santa. That's why people didn't get to all their
No.
gifts.
That's why you guys don't get Christmas anymore.
I was reading something yesterday about electric cars,
Oh, dear.
and they the creation of them, in other words, building them, creates 5 times more pollution to build an electric car versus a gas car.
That's straightforward.
I mean, and that's just the materials. Then you go into the mining of those materials, it becomes exponentially higher.
Yep.
Yep.
And no one's allowed to talk about it.
No one's allowed to figure out what they're going to do with those batteries when they go bad either.
It's amazing,
Nope.
kind of circling back to what I said before, how it became politicized.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not against electric cars. I think they're great. But for the entire country.
So does Tesla, by the way.
In about 3 years.
Not even. Not even.
And the
I
other thing is,
had-
they're now sitting in some cities that are so cold they won't charge.
Exactly.
They're
I was
literally
just
sitting in
gonna
there. You
say.
plug
Or
them in
s-
all day and they don't charge.
Such
Yeah.
a hurricane wreck, they catch fire.
Or,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
you
know.
can't have them in your garage now because they could burn your house
They could burn
down.
your house down.
Picky,
I-
picky,
Let's
picky.
talk about that.
I have to have a core heater in my truck in Maine. I mean, I had to have it
I
put
believe
in.
that. Alaska's
And
the same way.
because when it's 30 below zero,
yeah.
I have to plug it in to start
Yes.
it. You know, what are they going to do if everything is electric?
Or if the power goes out. Well, like
Look.
you mentioned, Teslas have the ability to turn. They could just flip the switch, and your Tesla no longer works.
Yeah.
And we're
Yeah.
seeing things coming out now how the government is intertwined with these companies.
You know, John Locke if you have a chance to look at John Locke, they had an interesting study this last week dealing with all types of energy and during the rolling blackout issues and what was dependable and what was not. And the only thing that held its numbers at 93% was nuclear.
Yep.
Even coal dropped to 80.
Yeah.
And and you know, they say the sun is great with all this stuff, but when it's dark, they're producing nada. You know, and there was
It's not blowing the windows open.
well, they put on the gas generators to turn them.
It takes a
Between the
village.
two of them.
It takes a village to beat a dead horse, Mary. It really does.
You know, we're going to go ahead and see if we can get that gentleman on the show to talk about that.
Yeah, he would be nice to come on
Yeah.
the show, and I will
Yeah.
enjoy that because I will do a lot of research on Maine and all that kind of
Well,
good
I'm
stuff.
curious to know what he knows about wind generation and how he feels about it.
Beware the wrath of Mary.
Yeah, but you got to remember they have 6 windmills to every person in Maine, so
No,
it's
they
not really
do
an issue.
not.
My, how the time flies when you're having fun. Oh, my goodness.
I think I have to break us for a few minutes because I think we should pay a few bills to
Yes.
move on.
That's a
So
good
at this
idea.
point, so stay tuned for the part 2. I certainly did. I said it's time to pay.
Marine Service Pro and the Tackle Box Seafood, located at 8210 River Road, Southport, is open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, with the Tackle Box open Monday through Saturday, 7 to 6. Marine Service Pro is a full Suzuki and Tohatsu dealership. They deal in pre-owned boats, full service and repair, with certified technicians in all engines, and fiber specialists. The Tackle Box offers fresh, local seafood, live bait, a tackle shop, and fish packing and shipping. They also offer a full-service U-Haul dealership. Spend time with Leon or Jenny for one-stop shopping at Marine Service Pro and the Tackle Box Seafood, 8210 River Road, Southport.
Hi, I'm Chan.
Marine Service Pro and the Tackle Box Seafood, located at 8210 River Road, Southport, is open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, with the Tackle Box open Monday through Saturday, 7 to 6. Marine Service Pro is a full Suzuki and Tohatsu dealership. They deal in pre-owned boats, full service and repair, with certified technicians in all engines, and fiberglass specialists. The Tackle Box offers fresh, local seafood. Not yet, I haven't found
You're on. Yes, we are live and falling apart very quickly.
Well, okay, all right.
You're
just
on.
Give me a second.
Time is up.
Just give me a second here. Okay.
Can we say hello to Joe, our guest this evening?
I'm ready.
Here's Joe.
Ready? Okay.
He's our guest. Hi, Joe.
Hey, Joe.
That's
Joe
my
came
Joe.
to sit through the madness.
Yeah, he came to. watch
What a
the
great
July-
place we call home. From colorful sunsets, panoramic coastal views, the best attractions are its people, community of friends and family, people who make this gentleman proud of the work he does protecting their rights. J.K. Summers, attorney at law. Put your trust in him, preparing your wills and trusts, real estate transactions, Contract and LLC Creations, Criminal, Traffic, and Civil Matters. Visit oakislandlaw.com or call 910-253-5572. J.K. Summers, Attorney at Law.
And on a serious note, I know J.K. and he's a great lawyer.
He is a great
He
guy.
really is.
He will
He's a
take
real
care
good
of you. He's
guy.
an honest man. So
Yep.
we'll get there. Now, moving right along, getting back to some serious garbage. We're going to start out by talking about the Festus. If you don't know what that is, Senator Rand Paul puts an annual list out of government waste. And I gave everybody a copy of it so we can kind of take a look at what he did. But basically, he's showing about $500 billion that we just blew.
Doesn't
You know,
surprise
and if you're
me.
not thinking about it, but, for example, $2.3 million to study 6-month-old beagle puppies using cocaine.
What?
Yeah, which is absolutely something we need to do. Another $1.1 million training mice to binge drink alcohol.
I would have done it for half,
Yeah, we said in there.
right? Yeah.
Oh,
$3 million at Northeastern University to watch hamsters fight on steroids.
Unbelievable.
No, that might be entertaining. That could be entertaining. Okay. Yeah.
Look how much they
Steroid
paid
dueling.
for espresso machines in the Pentagon.
Yes. Yes, this is all.
Oh my gosh.
And take a look at the first
Pentagon,
item.
I might add.
Look at the first item, $118,000, National Science Foundation, to study if the Marvel movie villain could snap his fingers while wearing some sort of infinity gauntlet.
That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Me too.
But we spent $118,000 on that.
But look how
Wow.
much they spent on the espresso machines for the Pentagon.
That's insane.
What in the world were they made
Well,
of?
they do have Starbucks stands all over the Pentagon, but the Pentagon is not supposed to be buying them. Starbucks brings their stuff in.
$200,000, the Department of Transportation radio ad campaign reminding drivers to stop at railroad crossings.
Oh, for goodness sakes.
$9 million to construct a park to be used for yoga and concerts. That is one hell of a yoga.
So
You'll love
what
the next
now?
one, Dan.
Now, let
You'll
me
love
ask
the
you,
next
why did they target Austin, Texas?
Gee, I don't know. Let's see. What's unique about Austin in Texas?
Why? It could be the center of liberalism in the state.
That kind of makes me feel a little blue to even think about.
Did you see the $124 million to construct 11,000 square foot spa in Broward County, Florida?
Oh my goodness.
You're waiting now. You skipped the one Greta would mention.
Yeah,
I was
this
waiting
one
to
is
get to it
this is
myself.
brilliant.
Well, go ahead.
4 point. Now, mind you, I don't have my reading glasses on, but I can read this. 4.5 billion in fraudulent payouts that were supposed to go to small businesses. They crushed the small businesses, but 4.5 billion could have saved a lot of businesses.
What happened to that money? Where is it?
It's gone.
It's probably over in the Ukraine now.
My other favorite one is $1.7 billion to maintain 77,000 federal empty buildings.
Empty federal buildings.
Right.
Grief.
They could solve the homelessness problem with them.
Well, they did it the last line. They spent $168 million helping illegals avoid deportation.
And $17 million for unused hotel rooms for illegal aliens. Hello.
And $31 million in luxury car purchases.
I like Rand Paul more every day.
Yeah.
He's a good man.
I've always appreciated him.
My goodness.
Yeah, it's
Well,
The other thing there, $2.5 million in the Super Bowl to tell you to fill out your census forms.
Well, yeah, but that worked out pretty good for North Carolina.
I guess.
yeah.
And don't forget, we did $3 million for the Mahatma Gandhi Museum in Houston. Well, we had to get that one built.
apparently Texas got a lot of this money.
Yeah.
They got a park.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine what Brunswick County could do with $9 million for a yoga park.
Yeah, right?
This is not surprising.
And they could even hire you to supervise it.
They had to teach yoga there. I mean, that'd be one hell of a
You only charge them what, $500,000?
You'd have the finest grass to put your mat on.
To either smoke or lay down on, whatever you want.
Nothing but cucumber water delivered to your mat for you.
Oh, God, help me.
Oh, God.
I love yoga, but I'm sorry, $9 million for a park. If the locals want to have it, that's fine. I'm good with it. But why?
But they said, and concerts. So during yoga, they're going to sing, they're going to sing hillbilly songs to make you feel better. It's a Texas, they'll be singing, I'm so lonesome in the saddle since my horse died.
Hillbillies and cowboys. Okay? They'll have hills.
Okay.
How
That-
about some good news?
Yeah, let's have some good news. I'm all for it. Here.
well, a couple of great
Brunswick
pieces of news. We have our latest numbers from the party in our county.
Mm-hmm.
And Republicans now hit 51,194 registered voters. This is as of yesterday.
That's great.
Democrats remain at just dropped a little bit. They're down to 27,741. Yeah. Hopefully they'll drop a little further. The unaffiliated hit 48,101. No. No. They're so it's good to see the party growing and the unaffiliated growing. And what's interesting in Brunswick, we generally break 2-1 Republican on all our unaffiliated, which is nice. I'm really, really pleased by that, though I will tell you, I am concerned that with everything going on in this last election, we only turned out 40% of the Republican voters.
Right.
And that just is not acceptable.
No.
We have to find a way to get the rest of them out there to vote.
Something that's speaking about the last election and people moving and all that. One of the things that I'm noticing personally is a lot of my friends who know I live in this area now are suddenly reaching out, asking about the area. Of course, I tell them it's completely filled up. Don't come down here. But if you actually look at it, I would say it breaks probably 90-10 Republicans and Democrats.
Oh, yeah.
And it's interesting to see how the demographics of the nation are changing that way. New York's emptying out, and it's going to North Carolina, Florida, Texas, are the big one. Tennessee is the other one.
Mm-hmm.
But it's amazing to me. And then they come here and they don't vote. I think to Bill's point, right?
Right.
You come down and register, get out and vote. I talk about it all the time. It's the thing you need to do.
Yes.
Well, for example, in my neighborhood in Brunswick Forest, I'm surrounded by Republicans, but you think get them involved in anything? It's golf. It's going up to play pickleball. It's all those things, and it drives me crazy. But I do force them to vote. I just go to their houses. You voted yet? And just to shut me up, they'll go vote.
Oh, yeah, we worry them to death in my community. We just keep worrying you till
Yeah.
you go to the polls.
So anyway, those are some.
Like the Democrats would say, hey, give me your voting, your absentee ballot, and I'll fill it in for you.
Oh,
Well, folks, if you move here for the entertainment, you still have to vote. The country
and
is
speaking
still
of entertainment,
Speaking of
what a
entertainment.
perfect lead in on that job. What a setup was that was. Absolutely great. We're going to give you a scoop today that has not been put out anywhere, but some people are aware of it, but it's never been covered by any news outlet, and we guess we're now become a news outlet. Breaking news.
Yep.
Brunswick County is involved in negotiating with 2 Texas billionaires to put in a baseball team in Leland, a minor league baseball team, build a stadium. They're looking at spending $100 million to build that stadium. And we have some issues with that. Dan, I like everything you're saying so far. It's working out very well. And I appreciate, I support fully what you've been pushing. So, but with that, they're looking at, those of you who know where Mayfair is up in Wilmington, they're looking at that same kind of layup. Around the stadium would be high-end stores. There's a 4-star hotel being looked at, some great restaurants, and they would have housing on top of it, like you see in Mayfield. There were, what I laugh at personally, growing up in a big city, the last place you wanted to live was over a store, and now it's luxury.
Yes.
And now we've gone full circle. It's a luxury living.
Yeah.
But they're looking at doing that. The county, and they're still negotiating, so nothing's final yet. The county is being asked to float a bond for somewhere between $50 and $70 million. If and when they approve that bond, it would be voted bond by the people. And if they are passed, it'll go forward. Just as a side note, they fully intend from the leasing agreement that bond will be paid off over the life of the bond. And what's nice about it, you're going to have a minor league baseball team here, and they're going to use it for a massive amount of concerts.
Right.
So we have no entertainment in this.
None.
If you're in Brunswick, you go 1 or 2 places. You go to Wilmington, or you drive down to Myrtle Beach. That's
Right.
pretty much where you're at.
Yeah.
That's it.
So to have our own and putting us on the map would be a nice thing. You know, I think we build the stadium and cut all the bridges to Wilmington, and we move on from that.
Oh, poor Wilmington.
Hey,
We would let you come over by boat.
I'll fly in my private jet.
He needs to move here.
I'm never moving again. No.
I've heard that before.
Nope.
But anyway, you know, that's interesting news for the county. You know, at this point, they're deciding whether they want to do a bond issue in 2023, which is coming up for the munis this year, or they're going to try and push it to 2024. If it goes through for 2023, spring of 2026 would be first ball being thrown out.
Wow.
So, and it's an interesting possibility. It's got fascinating ideas with it. There'll be people on both sides of the issue, and that's fine. You know, the question is to get it on the ballot and let the people decide. You know, and I think long term, I know people who are not baseball fans, but they love concerts, and just the opposite.
Yep.
And if you think about it, having lived in the beach for years, there's a cycle for anybody who visits. They come down for a week. The first 2 or 3 days, they're on the beach.
Right.
They're taking the sun. The next 2 or 3 days, they're doing something.
They're
And
looking
then
for something to
They're
do.
doing. They're going to do something, and then they come back to finish on the beach before they go home.
Right.
So on those 2 or 3 days that you have a baseball team here, 60 games in the summer, you have a great draw, and then you have the other concerts around. I mean, it's nothing but a great addition.
It creates jobs.
Mhm.
It creates money spent around the stadium. You know, where I'm from in Albany, New York, they put in a minor league stadium. It was drawing 5,000 many games. I mean, pretty much a sellout every time. And it was single leg ball, not top level, but it created a lot of economic benefit for the area that it was in. And
Sure.
people don't tend to see it. So when you're looking at it and when you're making your decision, don't look at it as it's baseball and I don't care about baseball. Look at the overall aspects of it, because it can create a tremendous amount of jobs, income, all of that stuff for the surrounding area.
And to the credit of the people doing the work, they've actually taken into consideration traffic. They've also taken into consideration the noise level for the homes that are going to be close for concerts. So all that has been looked into, and they have plans to show people when they finally roll the whole thing out. So, you know, I'm looking forward to people taking a good look at it and realizing that in long term, Brunswick will benefit from this, and it would be a great thing to have it in our quiver of things to make people come to Brunswick.
It would.
I mean, you got to remember, you're not going to
Absolutely.
just draw from Brunswick. If it's a quality organization, you're going to draw from Wilmington, Fayetteville.
Right.
Heck, you may draw from Raleigh, depending on the concert.
Concerts are the big
you know,
thing. We have to go to Raleigh now or Charlotte to go to a concert.
Yeah, I mean, did they say how many seats they were looking to put in?
They're looking between 2,400 and 4,000 permanent seats.
Okay, so it'll be on par with the concert venue in Wilmington.
And then, of course, you know, when you're doing a concert, they can fill it in the
the
stadium
infield.
area
So you're going to do about
for more
five to six grand. then.
temporary seats. So,
But
And lots of parking.
yeah, and that's a big issue.
That's a
There'll
big
be lots
See,
of parking.
and that's you bring up an interesting point with that, because when you look at Wilmington's concert venue, which is a nice venue, but the parking is atrocious.
It's a long walk.
It is really bad. So where are people going to go? They're going to come across the bridge to the stadium. I would.
Absolutely.
Every time I would. You know, it's
Yep.
I'm generally in favor of stadiums as long as the government's not putting in everything.
Well, when you
but
got
if-
when you got two people throwing $100 million
I was going to say,
at
but
it,
if that's not the case here,
you know,
right?
and the other thing that's going to happen is the town is going to be involved working with some developers. There's a road that has to be built for $2 or $3 million, but the town is handling that. That's not a county issue. So I think everything points to a great idea, and it's just a matter of getting people to understand it and listen to both sides of it
Just
and
be
make an
open-minded
intelligent,
about it.
informed decision.
Yeah.
And then vote.
And the thing is with the bond, that is for infrastructure as well and roads. But it is proposed to extend over a 10-year period. And, you know, I know folks from living here almost 30 years. Nobody here likes the bonds, okay? But generally, if you're going to have progress, there are times that you must have a bond. So,
You know,
And,
it's
you
the
know-
verbiage that scares people in Marion, Virginia. There was always
Yeah.
a bond issue on
Yeah.
every single ballot, right? And it's always kind of without any sense at all when you read it and you think, no, because
Yeah.
you can't make sense of it. If this is plain, right, that you're looking to use it to pay back, to do all those things, I think it could fly.
You know,
well,
and
they're going to go forward anyway.
Yeah.
Well-
so whether you like the bond or not, it would be advantageous
Yeah.
to this county.
well,
for
no,
them
as they
to
also
agree.
say, Brunswick is growing by leaps and bounds. If not the
Yes.
stadium, there's going to be something else there.
Yep,
You know, it's not going to sit there as fallow land doing nothing.
that's
No.
right.
So I think that we need to really consider that long term. And I think the bond, you know, the other thing people need to realize, and I don't think they even realize it anymore, was it 2016 they did the bond for schools?
12.
Okay. And when it was come due, no one paid a dime for it
No,
because
they
the
didn't.
county did such a good job managing their money. They ate the 2 cents or 4 cents per
Yep.
100 that they were managed to cover it, so nobody paid it for that school bond.
We did not pay 1 cent on that bond. And it was such a controversial issue at the time. And that was a much needed bond for schools because our county was growing so rapidly.
Yes.
You know, and that's going to be another issue with this also because we're getting close to another school bond. There's a
Yeah.
reality. We need another high school.
Yep.
The numbers are just growing.
Yeah.
So, but you've got to have faith in the county commissioners for the job they've done up to this
Yes.
point.
Yes.
You know, and you know, if they've done this and they managed to keep our budget as one of the fastest growing counties in the state, in the country,
Yes.
we still have the 10th lowest tax rate in the state out of 100 counties. So that's something to be said for the work that those men have done and women to make it work. So to them,
Population and traffic is going to increase regardless. People are moving here every day. So why not you can make the decision as to where you want your county to go. So I'm all for it. Definitely.
We need the infrastructure, and as long as that's covered in this whole package, I think it's a good
Right.
deal. It's a win-win for everybody.
it is. And I just hope people look at it with an open mind.
And that's what you got to ask. Just be open-minded about it. Don't decide at what you're hearing what we're saying.
Right.
Don't decide right now. I'm either for or against it. See
Yeah.
what it is. Look at the proposal.
If
and
you got a
then
concern about traffic, see how they're addressing it.
right.
If you got a concern about the noise because you live close, see how they're addressing it.
Right.
Because I looked at their plans, and they've actually measured out where every community is from where the stadium's going to be, so they can tell you the number of feet between that first house and the stadium.
Yep.
Okay.
And you can take, some of them are as far as 2,500 feet. That's a quarter mile. You're not going to hear much.
Yeah.
At that point. So they've done their research and they've done their presentations,
Right.
and I understand that they're going to be meeting again sometime this month. They're going to come in for another meeting to finalize, and then the county commissioners have to make a decision to float the bond or not,
Yep.
and then we go from there. It depends where they. Hopefully, they will stick with the 2023 muni, so to get this thing rolling, and they don't push it back to 2024 because that's just going to be harmful.
No reason to.
Right.
Well,
So
the one
folks-
answer that people give is munis tends to be light voting.
Yeah, but if there was a bond issue,
Well, they have a choice. They can vote or not vote. Nobody's holding them
That's
against
right.
them.
my point.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. So, folks, if you want to say in your community and what happens, you need to get out there and vote. Take the time to learn the facts and give yourself the opportunity to make
Yes.
choices.
Again, they say all politics is local. We have 19 municipalities coming due in this election with various positions. It can't get much local than that.
That's
So you need to
right.
vote. Whoever you think is the right person
And
to
it
vote.
has more effect on you than.
And it's all
Yeah.
unaffiliated.
Anything
No
else.
one's running as a Republican or a Democrat.
No.
I will,
Right.
as a coin, tell you if you are looking for Republicans, there will be a list on our website of who they are. However, we are not pushing that directly, but just stay tuned.
Well, I think that's great news.
Yep.
Wonderful news for
Now-
the county, and specifically in that area. I know that folks in the southern part of the county are probably saying, why not us? Well, it just so happened that I think you need to think about the next event may very well come to the southern part of the county, because let's face it, they're going to run out of room in the north pretty soon.
And the South is actually growing by leaps and bounds
It
right now.
is.
Southern part of Brunswick is growing almost at the rate that Leland is.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
those are things they need to consider.
Right.
And let's hope that people make the right decision on that move. And that was a scoop. You heard it first here on any radio
Yes.
wave, any place here. So stay tuned to All Things Brunswick, and we'll tell you what's going on, even if
All
no one else
right.
knows.
That's right.
So anyway, one final topic I'll throw out there so we can finish the last 10 minutes
much
of the
time
show.
we got? I don't even know.
That's
Oh,
about
there
we're
we go.
down there. The leadership issue in the House of Representatives that went on for 5 days, where Kevin McCarthy hung in there.
I loved every minute of it,
thought
by
it
the
was
way.
fascinating.
I wanted to go another 5 days.
I watched a bunch of those votes. I enjoyed
It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was democracy in
Thank
action.
you very much.
At its
It
finest.
really was. And it's funny how it's being spun different ways. But when you sit back and you see how the system was doing what it's supposed to do. Whatever you thought about the outcome, whatever that is, that's fine. But it was the system doing what it's supposed to do.
Right.
And we should be celebrating that instead of poo-pooing it.
Well, and I also think that you could look at those individuals that made comments and actions and knew which ones were really dedicated to their country and which ones were not. And I think that's a really good way to learn about an individual that you've put into office.
We're about to learn a whole lot more when they start sending these bills to the Senate
Yep.
and to the White House. And some of these are very controversial
Right.
measures, right?
Yeah.
And we're about to learn a whole lot about what they think of the American people.
It was interesting, I thought, about that whole thing was that one of the big points of contention was that the 20 outliers, I'll call them, one of their
Rebels
biggest,
with a cause.
yeah, one of their biggest things they were pushing for is single issue bills,
My favorite.
right? So
Yeah.
instead of having literally in some cases 5, 15, 30,000 pages in a bill, you got one issue in there. So you could look at it, read it, understand it, vote on it. And that was a big point of contention through this whole thing.
Yes.
And I'm a huge fan of single issue bills.
Yes.
Because then you do know where someone
Yes,
stands,
you
right?
do.
Because politicians will vote for bills because there's something in a bill that they want for themselves, for their constituents, for whatever reason. They may disagree with 80% of that bill, but if it's going to give them that one thing, they'll vote for it.
Right.
Single issue bills take that away.
Exactly.
And it takes away all the hidden stuff that's in there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I was cheering on all of this going on, because it opened things up. It puts it out there so that the average person can see it. And it's funny how the media never mentioned any of that. It's the right wingers,
Of course
you
not.
know.
Well, I think that my favorite part of their agreements was the fact where they said that anytime you have a spending bill, you got to match it with cuts.
Yeah.
I think that's critical.
And what's wrong with that? Fiscal responsibility.
Actually, of those 15 of those 21 people, I have tremendous respect for.
Yeah.
The other 6 were there for different reasons. And
Yes.
so they have lost my respect, but I will tell you, I would not want to be a U.S. Senate person who's sending a bill back to that group anymore. Because they've already said, those of us who voted for that omnibus bill, don't send anything down with your name on it,
Right.
because it isn't getting through. And I'm for that.
Do you know anybody who's in favor of having 79,000 more IRS agents?
Oh.
I
the
haven't
good
met
news
that person yet.
Well,
Oh,
yeah,
here we
I've
go.
met-
But
evidently, Chuck Schumer is.
But have
Nancy
you have
Pelosi.
you
Yeah.
talked to any of your neighbors or associates or anything? Any of y'all?
The real people.
Right, the real
Yeah.
people who think that's a good idea.
well, there are some that think it's a good idea because they're going to go after the rich people.
That's, that's always the excuse.
They're going to go after the billionaires. Well, I don't
No.
know the exact number of billionaires, but it ain't more than 1,000. You don't need 80 whatever thousand IRS agents,
77,000.
And
whatever
are
it
they
is.
really going to go after them?
Of course they're not. They're going to go after
No.
the small business owners.
Of course
I've been
they
audited
are.
4 times as a small business owner. I know what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And they released him eventually.
Actually, by the time it was funny because the last one, the guy knew he had come the time before, and he's like, "Yeah, I know, I'm here." But he was a great guy, actually. He's like, "Show me this here, show me this here." It was all over 5 minutes, but you hire somebody new, they're out to make a name for themselves because they got to
Sure.
prove they exist. They're going to tear these businesses apart.
Yep.
Well, the other thing is, they're talking about going after the rich, yet they passed this rule that they're trying to stall for another year about the $600 rule.
Oh,
They've
yeah,
actually agreed
now
that they're
they're
going to put it
delaying
off a
that
year
for
another year, and basically, what they're looking for is to try to catch the guy that deals in cash.
The gig workers.
Yeah,
Yep.
but you know something? I know people who deal in cash with their jobs, and it's not me. I don't have that kind of job. But they're going to spend that in cash. It's never going to a bank.
No.
It's never going to be handled out anywhere like that. You're never going to see it. It'll be a cash transaction that I'll pay you to do something for me. I'll give you some money on that. So they're just wasting their time and money. And the fact that they're out to try to get the rich people, those rich people, $600 is a cigar.
I'll tell you where I would be in favor of all these IRS agents if they were auditing the Congress.
Yeah.
Oh no, there's an idea.
Now that
I
I'll sign up for today.
I like.
Maybe we could find out then how someone like Nancy Pelosi on $174,000 a year is worth over $100 million, or a few others I could name. But funny how they exempted themselves in these bills from all of that
Yes.
stuff. They're exempt. So again, it goes back to single issue bills, transparency ultimately, and I'm all for it. I hope, I pray they keep moving on this and really putting things out there. Let's get some of these people on the record for what they really
Absolutely.
think so that then we as voters know. And that's both sides. It's not one side or the other.
No,
it's both
all-
sides.
everybody.
Right.
Whatever issue you may have, let's get defined one.
Yeah.
Okay. TK, we ready to wrap up with our payments? Okay.
Go for it.
What a great place we call home, from colorful sunsets, panoramic coastal views. The best attractions are the people, community of friends and family, people who make us proud and make J.K. Summers proud, protecting their rights. J.K. Summers, attorney at law. Put your trust in him. Preparing your wills, real estate transactions, contract and LLC creations, criminal, traffic, and civil matters. Visit oakislandlaw.com or call 910-253-5572. J.K. Summers, attorney at law.
This show is also sponsored by Dr. Tony Maglione. Dr. Tony is a cardiologist practicing in Wilmington. He accepts Medicare patients, and his office is located across the street from New Hanover Regional Medical Center at 2032 17th Street. The office number is 202-1071. Dr. Tony is an author whose last book is Rules for Conservative Patriots, and it can be purchased on Amazon. His website is www.drtonymag.com.
Veteran Awareness sponsored by You Are Not Alone. Today's veteran homeless rate is approximately 19,750, and the numbers are declining because of the various veteran programs. If you or a veteran you know is homeless, please call 877-4AID-VET. This is a confidential and toll-free call. From this veteran to other veterans, please be there to help our brother and sister veterans. Again, the number is 1-877-424-3838. And thank you for your service.
Well, we should be at the homeless today. Clear. Okay, good.
I'll let you put the L in. We already did.
All right, everybody.
Live.
Good night,
This is what live
everyone.
shows are
Live
gonna
from
do. So anyway,
Brunswick
everybody,
County.
We had a great time tonight. We hope you did enjoy and learn something too.
Fucking
And we
hell, that makes
come
sense.
back next week because we have no idea what we're doing yet. We'll figure it out soon. So thank
What
you.
else is
All
new?
Things Brunswick.
Your mic is off anyway, so.